coming to you from What's the Tea? Breaking news. As Europe tries to modify its society, we see a new problem forming. As industrialization is spreading, especially throughout parts of England and France, a large influx of people are coming in to our cities from the countryside. This large increase of migrators has formed a problem in the employment district as less and less jobs become available. Now, chaos and frustration spreads through the streets of London as citizens take it to the government to describe their discontent. On the scene, we have Catherine Green coming to us and telling us what the problem is and what our government is going to do to solve it. Catherine?
Thank you, Kate. As we can see, the large unemployment rates have thrown cities into chaos. Citizens of London have reported a rise in arson, theft, and destruction to property. With me here is Officer John Johnson Jr., and he's going to talk about the new reforms. Now tell me, Officer, what's going to happen? What's going on?
Well, you see, these reforms are actually intended to increase domestic security. See, if you put more law enforcement on the street, it actually has a psychological effect on them criminals, you see. Basically, the more law enforcement you have out there, the more cops you put out on the streets, the criminals will see them, and it will deter them from actually wanting to commit the crimes, because they'll realize that they could get caught.
That sounds very useful. Now, as we know, London is trying to implement two new policies, one reforming the police and the other reforming its prisons. We are, of course, focusing on the police aspect of it. As we know, Paris increased its police forces as far back as 1828 last year, and Berlin plans to do the same by 1848. We are also looking to increase our police forces. Now tell me, Officer John Johnson Jr., what is one major difference between our forces and those of Berlin and Paris?
Well, you see, Britain has just passed a reform thanks to Robert Peel. And the Parliament voted on it, and they don't want to alarm the public with this new reform. So actually right now, we're not authorized to carry guns. So, also, because of this growing tension, they don't want people to be worried that we're going to turn into a police state. Hence, they don't want to start creating secret police forces such as the ones that we see in Russia all the time.
For those of you who do not know, transportation is the relocation of prisoners to public work prisons in colonies such as Britain's New South Wales colony in Australia and France's infamous Devil's Island. Now, England and France have both been exposed by reformers John Howard, Elizabeth Fry, and Charles Lucas, respectively, for horrible prison conditions. Any comments and thoughts on that?
Well, our prisons began experimenting with reforms in order to implement more disciplinary methods. Some of those methods may have been a little over the top. But, thanks to those exposures, we are now on our way to implement new methods by 1840. Soon enough, Britain and France will not just be punishing the prisoners, but we will be reforming them as well.
This has been it for prison reform, and now, Kate, back to you with the economy.
On to our next story. The classical economics is a period we see dominating Europe as of today. This laissez-faire economic belief, as we all know, was originally established by Adam Smith. The limiting of government and economy has certainly had its effects on Europe. Two of the most influential writers in Europe about the economy are David Ricardo and Thomas Malthus. Both have taken a very pessimistic take on the economy situation, stating that conditions of the economy cannot improve for the working class. Here with me explaining his view in his essay on the principle of population is Thomas Malthus himself. Good afternoon, sir.
Good day, madam. Good day. Human population grows geometrically. The food supply can only expand arithmetically. Population control is the only way to prevent this. You can read the rest in my essay. where I explain it in greater details.
Yes, well, desperate times most certainly call for national unity, and nowhere is this more prevalent than in the Zollverein or Free Trading Union in Germany and Austria, where classical economists have had little to no effect on the people. One man to have an impact on people is sitting right next to me, Jeremy Bentham, who has become a very profound figure amongst the British people. Thank you for coming today, Jeremy.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
So tell me, Jeremy, what is your general belief?
Well, the belief is utilitarianism, but there's a common mistake. It's not really mine. I took this concept and I put it into the scientific code and I started working with it. And what I realized is that we really need to start focusing more on the community and the interests of the people, just as a group versus, the individual pursuits and the interests of the individual. So what I'm thinking is, how can we move forward as a society and achieve this, goal, this end goal for the community and not for the individual?
People working in these workhouses have started calling them Bastilles, reflecting, of course, the French prisons back in the day. And I do agree, and such measures have finally been pushed forward into the parliament, and we want to repeal this thing called the Corn Laws. And this anti-corn league of organized manufacturers, they want to end tariffs that have been placed on their grains and domestic prices, which make them less accessible for people to purchase. Do you think they will succeed?
Yeah, I think so, but it's going to be a while. We're talking 60 years, but it's possible. It's not impossible. We just got to, do this together. We really got to embrace this as a society and get this done.
Thank you so much for coming, Jeremy.
Thank you.
This has been a great interview, and
Likewise.
for all of you out there who are hoping for a better future, we're here, and we're here listening to your thoughts and your voices. And this has been Kate Green with the tea. Some major changes that happened after this was asylum and prison reform, which were started by Dorothea Dix in the United States. Another major aspect that changed was the reduction of police forces, which is currently being popularized in the United States due to police brutality. Another impact was the passing of Jeremy Bentham's Poor Laws by the House of Commons, which gave better food and housing conditions in workhouses. While Britain continued to be number one in industrialization in the 1800s, 1900s saw US go into the market and become number one, surpassing England.